I want to talk about the Australian curriculum mathematics and what it might look like in classrooms. But first let me just mention what mathematics is and what it is that we want to educate our children for. Fundamentally, mathematics is about a way of seeing the world. It's functional, it helps us solve everyday issues, it's social, it's a way of understanding the complexity of the world, in science, in economics, in psychology, in a whole lot of places. Now, the Australian curriculum has two fundamental elements. The first one is the content. Now, the content is about, we can think of it as being the nouns. And what it is, it's lists of the type of mathematical development that students will progress through from year to year, and the teachers can then say, well, this is the type of mathematics that on balance most of the students should engage with at some stage in the year. Now, the truth of the matter is that those nouns are not very different from what existed in South Australia and most other states already. And so that shouldn't make a big difference. But one of the characteristics of the way the curriculum is written is that it's written very simply. And the intent is the teachers come to understand what the curriculum says and then make their own decisions about what the curriculum is intending for them to do in their classroom. So they'll take that and they'll then enact those ideas in their own ways. It's much more important that teachers know what they're doing than that teachers try to implement someone else's lesson. The other aspect of the curriculum is what we might think of as the verbs, the things that we do. Now, one way to think about it is that we want the children to think and be like a mathematician. Now, that means doing things. Now, there's some principles that are going to guide the enactment of this in classroom. One of them is that fundamentally experience should precede instruction. And so we want to give students tasks in which they can engage, after which there can be some instruction or sharing of ideas. The other thing is that students should sometimes work on tasks they don't already know how to do. And this is important because if they're always working on things they all know how to do, they're not going to be learning. Because that leads on to what fundamentally is the most important element of the curriculum, is that we want the children to know that they can learn mathematics. And if they know they can learn mathematics, then the next year is not going to be terrifying for them. The concept of doing senior secondary mathematics is not going to be terrifying. The concept of using mathematics in their world is not going to be terrifying. We want them to know they can learn. And so that's what it's about. There are 4 proficiencies: fluency, understanding, problem solving and reasoning. Now, the fluency and the understanding are very much what teachers have always been doing. But the problem solving and reasoning represent a change to what the curriculum has been. The working mathematically strand didn't quite create the impression that the problem solving and reasoning, the verbs, work with the nouns. So the problem solving and reasoning are on the content. They're not separate from the content, they're part of the content. And so what we have to do is find ways to support teachers in engaging with problem solving, meaning asking the students questions they don't know how to do, and reasoning, meaning the students planning a strategy, implementing the strategy, communicating that strategy, and being able to convince someone else that their strategy is the strategy that communicates the answers. And if we can somehow find a way to integrate the content, well, let's call it the nouns, with the proficiency, let's call it the verbs, so we get sentences that are rich, that create the opportunities for students to learn mathematics in a way which is robust, which is sustainable, which prepares them for a life in which they can implement aspects of mathematics in all aspects of their study, their professional life, their personal life, their work life and their social life.